Just so you know, I'm very sleepy tonight, so I apologize when I stumble over the words, because I will. But anyway, tonight we're on chapter 5, and I didn't really finish the last page last time, but it ended with Courtney being under arrest by the FBI. So, let's go. Courtney's painkiller wore off with a hard smack. What? She'd never done anything to attract the attention of the police. If she went the rest of her days without seeing or hearing about another cop, she'd be fine. History taught her to be wary and keep her distance. The whole "run to a policeman if you're in trouble" motto turned her blood icy cold. Her glance moved to Jonas, tall, dark, handsome, and deadly sarcastic. He had everything she found attractive in a guy, except the badge. She had no choice but to believe in him right now, but at the first opportunity she'd be gone. Jonas lowered his gun as he stared down at the agent. Where is it? Oh, sorry. He had his gun pointing at someone in a hospital? Back up. Right. What are you doing, Jonas? This is entertaining for you. Something about being in the Navy. Doesn't really say. Oh, yeah. Okay, apparently Jonas is, he's just the type to greet people with the barrel of a gun. So, he's pointing his gun at some federal officers. Alright. Jonas lowered his gun as he stared down the agent. Where is it? The other man's glare telegraphed how little he appreciated being dressed down by a small-town cop. Excuse me? I want to see a paper. She had no idea what Jonas was talking about, but the agent didn't blink. Courtney wrote the whole scene off as cop talk as she scanned the cubicle for an obvious escape route. Because their simple brain doesn't understand an arrest warrant. Women are dumb. Eckert edged closer to the end of the bed. I need to talk with Miss Allen alone. Jonas shook his head. Not going to happen. I agree. She decided Jonas could act the hero on this one with her full support. Being talked about like a piece of furniture ticked her off, but going with the guy from the FBI terrified her. She'd take anger over fear any day. Fury fueled her, and she would use that energy now to get out of this room. Eckert held his badge and tapped it against his open palm with a steady thump. His glare switched to her. You are wanted for questioning, so not under arrest. Those are two very different things. Just so you know, like I said before, if you ever get to arrest, if you're ever asked to be questioned about a crime, the first thing you should know is that you can leave at any time. You don't have to tell them anything, and anything you do tell them, they will consider you as a suspect. Police are crafty that way. So yeah. If you don't like where the questioning's heading, just get up and leave. Oh, they're also not allowed to take anything from you, so don't let them take your cell phone or anything like that. And don't eat or drink anything they give you, because they'll use your DNA. Yeah. Alright. It's just helpful tips for life. 1 minute, she looked into Eckert's face with his lip curled in disgust. The next, Jonas blocked her view. She hadn't seen him move or heard his footsteps, but his broad shoulders now stood as a wall between her and a guy who was wanting to take her to jail. So then you don't actually have an arrest warrant, Jonas said. The agent dropped his badge back into his pocket. Look, officer, it's Deputy Porter. Are you going to interrupt me every time I talk? Possibly. Walt held up his hands. Let's calm down here. Jonas ignored the older man and focused on the agent. What are you saying she did? This is not a group interview, Eckert said. I need to speak with Miss Allen alone. She put her hand on Jonas's forearm. Can I refuse? Walt shook his head. You shouldn't. Jonas's gaze never wavered. He kept all that intensity funneled at the agent. Courtney vowed to keep her mental shield up, but she had to admit Jonas's protective nature sent her stomach flipping. Someone tried to kill Miss Allen a few hours ago, he said. That same person tried to kill me, so until I know what is going on, she stays with me. I think we can agree that I'm not a threat to her, Eckert looked around the room. When no one backed down or nodded in agreement, he blew out a long breath. Or maybe we can't. Rich slipped into the seat next to her bed. We're all law enforcement. You can talk in front of us. Fine. Embezzlement. Eckert dropped his verbal bomb and stopped talking. The longer the silence stretched, the more Jonas's eyes narrowed. What? The words blurred in Courtney's brain. She felt her jaw drop and her eyes bulge. By me? Eckert took out a small notebook and started reading. Your husband. Again with the husband thing. A rough scream rumbled up her throat as she pushed it back. She settled for throwing up her hands and talking through clenched teeth. For the last time, I'm not now, nor have I ever been married. Eckert's mouth opened and closed twice before any words came out. That's not possible. Jonas snorted. I had the same reaction. The Margaret Tainer thing doesn't make any sense. It was Eckert's turn to scowl. His gaze bounced around the room. Who's Margaret Tainer? Isn't that who you're here for? Jonas asked. No. Some of the venom left Eckert's voice. Are you Courtney Allen? Yes. Rich tapped on the bed railing next to her head. So you have 2 names but no husband? Rich tapped on the bed railing next to her head. Oh, I said that already. Oh my god. Okay. She let her head fall back onto the pillow. It felt good to close her eyes for 2 seconds. Without a break, her brain might explode. When she lifted her head again, control had returned. Those years of practice came rushing back, and she pushed out the pain. You all have the wrong woman. Your husband, Peter Allen, has been indicted. He implicated you, Eckert said to her. What now? Her face heated to boiling. Another name from her past. Another reminder of all she'd lost. Alan Peters, Peter Allen. It couldn't be a coincidence. Not so close to having the name Margaret Tainer thrown in her face. The small corner of normalcy Courtney held on to slipped away. This can't be happening. Do you know Peter Allen? Jonas's body stiffened and his voice strained as he asked the question. Fighting back the bile churning in her stomach, she answered with the technical truth. No. Why is everyone in here? Nurse Ramsay shoved her way back to the bed. The head shaking and finger pointing started a second later. Absolutely not. This is an emergency room, 1 blood relative at a time. That's it. The rest of you all have to go. Jonas broke eye contact with Courtney and blinked a few times. Walt, would you mind taking Agent Eckert here and see what information you can gather? Courtney owed the nurse. Darkness had filled the air and blanketed the area. It sucked all the life out of Courtney, made her want to run and not look back. I'm not leaving. Eckert crossed his arms over his chest, as if to highlight his refusal. Are you going to disobey Nurse Ramsay here? Rich smiled as he asked the question. No, he's not. The nurse got in front of Eckert and started pushing him into the hallway. She pinned Jonas with an over-the-glare shoulder. You may stay, but not on account of any sweet-talking. You're the law around here, and you've been injured. I can't rightly kick you out. Walt cleared his throat. Technically, I'm the law around here, but I hear you. Who's Walt? Let's go back to the cast of characters. The county sheriff / Jonas's mentor. Apparently he was also in the Navy with Jonas's father. Now where am I? Thanks, Jonas mumbled. Walt didn't acknowledge the comment. Instead, he put a hand on Eckert's arm and guided him out of the cubicle. Let's make some calls and see if we can work through this. I'll just close this. With a nod, the nurse whipped the curtain around, providing them with a private cocoon. Relief washed through Courtney the second Eckert left the room. She hadn't realized she was clenching the sheet in her hands. Her nails dug into her palms through the material. Rich, you stay for a second, Jonas called out when the other man stood up. Yes, sir. Rich's smile eased away the rest of her anxiety. His body consisted of more bulk than Jonas's, and tension didn't tighten his face, though like it had with Jonas almost every moment she'd known him. Is Jonas really your boss? For now, Rich winked, but his relaxed stance disappeared when he got another look at Jonas. Interesting day off you're having. Yeah, tell me about it. He plowed his fingers through his hair, but swore when his arm got even with his chest. Guilt pummeled her from every direction. She didn't like his chosen profession, but he'd killed for her, gotten injured for her. That meant something. Are you okay? He nodded, but his back teeth slammed together. This is your last chance, Courtney. I need the truth. Do you know this, Ellen? Have you ever gone by the name Tainer? She settled for more half-truths. No. Jonas stared at her for a few beats. Much more and she'd be squirming on the mattress. Heh. I bet she will be. In a different context. Later. Okay. He finally turned back to Rich. Okay, you go do some investigating. I want anything you can find on Eckert, Margaret Tainer, and Peter Allen. Check Maryland, since that's where the original request came from. Someone started this by asking for the wellness check on this Tainer woman. Dig back through people until you find out who asked and why he thinks he's married to Courtney. Rich's gaze skipped to her, then back to Jonas. What will you be doing while I work? Finally. She exhaled the breath she'd been holding. It ripped from her lungs with a whoosh. Danger still lingered, but the crushing weight lifted. She needed her freedom. She couldn't investigate the murders while fighting off a trumped-up claim. Worse, she couldn't handle being dragged back to Maryland and shoved right into the path of someone who might want the last of the Peters family dead. She went through her prepared mental list for her exit plan. I just need a rental car. Jonas shook his head. Wrong. You're coming with me and staying with me until I understand what's happening. She waited for the usual dread and claustrophobia to overwhelm her, but it didn't come. Something about having a man on her side who owned a gun and knew how to use it felt right this time. Sure, he didn't believe her and had no idea the depth of the mess he was wading into, but he radiated strength and self-assurance, and she needed both right now. But being smart enough to grab on to help didn't mean she would just roll over to his bossiness. Do I get a say in what happens to me? No. Jonas stepped closer to the opening of the cubicle and looked out. Rich, try and keep Walton Eckert at the entrance to the emergency room. I'll sneak her out through the door a few cubicles down. It leads into the main hospital. We can get to the lobby from there. Rich nodded in her direction. She's still hooked up to machines. I can take care of that. Oh no, that was her. Sorry. I can take care of that. She tugged on the needle in her arm. The flash of pain stole her breath. Whoa! That hurt like a... Rich cleared his throat as he turned his back to her and moved in closer to Jonas's side. Are you, sure you... I'm fine, and Courtney isn't going to kill me. She had the opportunity to shoot me and she didn't. Besides that, I think she's figured out that I'm the best chance she has for getting through this. Jonas looked over his shoulder at her. Right? She's hoping that's not true, she said in her clearest, you're annoying me tone. Jonas shrugged. See? She's fine. Where are we going exactly? She asked before she could say something else to annoy her. He could say something else to annoy her. I'll figure that out as we go. He stalked back to the bed and folded down the sheet. Ready? Good thing she still wore her clothes. Grimy and sticky. She was desperate to shower and change, but that didn't happen yet. No. That's the spirit. I have to say, I'm starting to like this Courtney woman. She's feisty, and, at the moment she's not taking any shit from this douchebag, but, I'm sure that'll change. I read the last line of the book a few days ago, and it is hilarious. So, it'll be a nice treat for you when we get there. Yeah. So, that was the end of chapter 5. And I guess tomorrow, well, hopefully tomorrow, I'll do chapter 6. Here's a view of my Christmas house. Pretty. I don't know if you saw that. Well, I had to move my whole computer. Right. Have a good night.